All right, so we've brought you here under the usual false pretenses.
Oh, great.
There's
It's like
no-
an
there's no money.
intervention or something today?
There's no money. The interventions happen downstairs. That's later. We have a special room for that.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, exactly. So we have no money. You don't get to say everything you want. That's your standard, not mine. I was talking to Anne about this, that when you're a mentor to many people that you're still mentoring, that it's hard to say the things that you want to say to your peers. Otherwise it goes to the heart, right? So there's a balance there with mentoring and not hurting and being honest. There's a lot of chefs that didn't follow that. They would just destroy. I remember a few of them.
But I think sometimes though, I don't think you can do that now. I don't think it would be received well by, or more people would not receive that well if you did that now, because things have changed, right?
Yeah.
I still think though, sometimes there's a place, but I think if you come out swinging hard like that, people now are just gonna shut down and say, I'm done.
I think so too. I think so too. So what are we talking about? We're here today. This is the follow-up story with Andy Chlebana. And do I say your last name right, by the way?
Chlebana.
Chlebana.
I'm mixing up
I'm like
now.
Cabana.
Just how about Andy? It's probably Andy.
Andy. Well,
I'll change my name like Andy
okay.
C. I'll be like, then I'll eventually be like Prince. I'll just be C.
I got it. So you are giving us a follow-up on how the team did and your experience from your side of the story.
What was that pause for?
The pause, that's when I see pictures. So I was remembering the last time you were here with the chefs, I was very much interested in having this inclusive creative development exercise, because although there's several people that could just straight up design something and be like, oh, here, eat this, right? Do this. The idea in my mind was, let's design an exercise that allows. How'd that turn out?
You know, I think back to what you said real quick though. No, how you said like somebody could say, hey, here you are.
Yeah.
I don't think that's much different than what we were just talking about with the chefs that would just come in and go, nope, wrong, you're doing this wrong. Everything you've done in your life is wrong. In fact, your existence on this planet is wrong. I will break you and retrain you. I think it's kind of the same thing, but just not as ugly. It's here, this is what you're going to do. I can tell you from my own personal experience, I don't like that either. I appreciate people's input, as you know, from all the years of you saying, do this, don't do that, or oh my God, that's like the coolest thing I've ever seen, or where do you come up with this? Awald said that to me before. I think the way that we were doing it was right, and I learned a lot from your process, and especially bouncing from here over the wall there to the other room there and outside and over there and just having all this space to work. I thought it was good. I just think that eventually it kind of hit the point where it was like, it was starting to become we transitioned from the ideas and the brainstorming into how am I going to do that? And I think that's when things kind of changed sometimes in the process. People start thinking too much ahead about how am I going to do it, because I think the Coup Du Monde being as big as it is and what it is, you have to go in there guns a-blazing, try new things. You have to do new things. You have to do things you're uncomfortable with, because if you're doing what you've always done, that's not the place to be doing it.
Well, and the teams that win don't do what they did before.
No, and it's like, you remember the years ago, right? That everybody had a pirate ship on their showpiece, and there were books everywhere. Remember when there were butterflies on all the showpieces, yes. And like everybody wanted.
How'd that happen?
Everybody wanted butterfly molds. You know what I mean? Right? And we kind of started sitting there. We go, God, what's the next trend in pastry? And I'm this overgeneralized, like pulling something from nature and making up a story that fits the theme, like some of the showpieces that we saw, or somebody used the formula that won 2 years ago to create a piece that was different animal, same style, literally different animal, same style, and they did well. And I don't know if that's, I don't know, it's tricky. It's kind of twofold, because it's not just the competition, it's the judges and the way it's scored too. It's a whole nother story.
I was going to ask you about this, that, you know, when we were just getting started with Pastry Live, my approach was, if we rewrite the rules, the results are going to be different. And the results were different, but a lot of people were trying to get back to the known rules. Like we had the 3 pedestals. It was wonky, but it was like we were trying to develop this idea of what changes the structure, this up version, and also building on a round table at the time wasn't done, and having a triangular kitchen that you could kind of step into from the outside and have these just the viewing vantage points and just small things that we learned from other competitions that we were trying to change. I feel like each year, it's like the auto industry, it's like they come out with a new car, but it's not a new car, it's just slightly different than the last car. And sometimes the competitions, I think, should be scrapped and rebuilt. And right now there's a good time for that because, as you said, all the competitions that you did in your history up to a certain point, I don't know when, but you said they no longer exist. And they don't exist for financial reasons, for travel reasons, for all sorts of things. And I'm wondering, and I always thought that there was a place for a different type of competition. I was someone who liked stepping stone competitions because the big ones are owned by the beasts, right? You gotta have millions of dollars to get that together. And you gotta be selling to every one of those chefs to move your brand forward. And the stepping stone competitions, you know, when I first started working with Paul, do you know the competition we had before Pastry Live?
It was like the student competition with the mystery box.
Yeah. Casting challenge, where everybody had basically the same things, and their creativity was what was going to sort of move them away from it. But it wasn't successful in the sense, it was successful enough for us to go on and get some ideas for ourselves, but I saw people struggling with ideas. This is true not just in the stepping stone competitions, this idea that a chef needs to go outside of their own team to get a good idea. I think it happened, in my recollection, you're sharper on this than me, in my recollection, that started happening with Team Belgium when they brought in a designer and they had the flying fish in Vegas. And people were like, son of a bitch, you can get an architect's help, you can get a builder's help. And then it was like game on. Now it was the car builder and the driver. And there was two different things, you know, those who build, those who drive. How do the things that I just said land on you for a contemporary experience of that?
I think you need help. I do. I think sometimes you gotta, I guess the reason why I contacted you was you would always help me. When we were sometimes just brainstorming ideas.
It's mushroom tea, by the way.
Oh yeah, this is gonna get crazy.
It's only 2 mils. You're okay.
But just, you know, sometimes I'd bring in my sketch. I don't think I came in too many times and said I didn't have an idea.
No, never.
But we would like always make it better. But I think you need to have, just like you said, mentors. There's a core group of people that I would always go back to, and it would grow every time. As somebody would judge you, you would listen to what they would say and go, this kind of aligns with how I do things. So you pull them in. I didn't get too many people from outside the pastry world back then, because I think I still had some pretty good ideas and a little outside the box, and then being able to pull them off. But
you were less worried about the how every time you came to me. The how I'm going to do this was running, but it didn't stop you. It was more like I want the wow part of it ahead of the how part of it.
But I think that goes back to the first question you asked. I think that's faded a little bit, because I was talking to Christoph about a lot of things, and I just judged an ACF competition this week.
Which Christoph?
Christoph Fate. He was on the team with me. Got it. And he said it. He goes, we're a dying breed, brother. And I don't want to say it's just the two of us. There's other people out there, but I think just that mentality of like, I have to have this 100% right, or I have to be able to figure this out. Like, I don't know if I ever told you, for Pastry Live, that big bent piece that we had, we literally Nancy came to the school to get dropped off, and we were getting ready to leave, and we made that thing like 3 more times, and she's like, how many more times are you going to do it? I go, until I feel like I can do it down there right, I'm not stopping to get in the car, because it doesn't make sense to leave if we can't do it, because that was a big part of that piece. And I just think that mentalities might be going away. Like, well, I try, you know, our student team, watching them practice, they're really driven, and they're self-motivated. And I think that's tough to find, because right now after COVID, everybody's looking for like that quality of life piece.
Okay, say what is, because in this interview, we're gonna roll legacy pictures. So say what Pastry Live was.
Me with my black hair.
I'm gonna have hair. This is the joke. So just real quick, say what Pastry Live. Why Pastry Live? Your perception of what Pastry Live was and what was supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera. He won it, by the way, with Nancy. Oh yeah, it was a spectacular showpiece.
And then he made me rebuild part of it. We brought some of it in your showroom. We had half the piece was in a plexiglass
It lasted
case.
for 2 years, 3 years.
So I mean, I guess it's fun looking back and telling a lot of these stories, like what happened. And I was just sharing my Pastry Live story with my class this week about how I thought I was going there to pull sugar, and I was actually going there to work with chocolate, even though I'd never done chocolate before live in front of judges. But I think what I liked the most about Pastry Live was the table was interesting and the boxes were interesting. And I think like the approach to how to use the boxes and how are the majority of people going to use those boxes, right? And that's when I looked at the boxes.
Poorly is the answer, by the way.
Well, Nancy and I had a few discussions about, we're total opposites the way we think. She's very, and she's great at what she does, and I'm a little more like, well, let's go crazy today. And I said the tall box has to go in the front, no matter what. The tall box goes in the front. And she's like, well, that's stupid because the taller box should be in the back. And I go, I get it. The tall box has to go in the front, and like trying to figure out a way to use that without having a design even planned, but just saying, okay, this is the front of our piece. And it just gives you a chance to go and do something. And I think that was what was fun about it, was that you're doing something nobody's ever done before. It's like being an astronaut, you're the first one out there.
I had fun writing the rules to that because of the same very reason. That was my thrill of it. So, Anna, you don't know about this. So Pastry Live, typically in a showpiece competition, the showpiece portion is, for years things were being built vertically, very beautiful, but typically you had a center post and then things came off of it. And my idea was I want to develop a show that's about the artistry of the showpiece and not so much ask the chefs to be flavor centric at the same time they were doing showpieces. So it was showpiece. And they had 3 pedestals that I built. Each pedestal was an acrylic box about 10 by 10. And it had a silicone liner inside that you could pour chocolate or sugar into. And that allowed you to attach other pieces of chocolate or sugar to it. And there were 3 heights, and the rules stated that each box must be a certain distance away from itself. So this was forcing the design of the showpiece to somehow bridge between each box. I was taking a more architectural approach into the design concepts of this. And I thought that the chefs would be like Andy and cherish this opportunity to build something different. And most people kind of were just like, oh, I got to deal with that rule. And I'm like, no, the competition is about that rule. The competition is about breaking the foundation of what a showpiece was at the time. Back to you, because you were the only one that really, other people did exactly what the rules said. And there's nice results. I mean, the caveat, right? But you and Nancy, you developed a flow between each pedestal rather than, like the rest of it was like, what's that game, Twister? Like they do this and then all of a sudden they throw their leg out on the table and like, I got all 3.
Check the box.
Check the box. I'm like, that's not even a box. You guys.
I didn't know you wrote the rules because you don't know this about me either. I ask way too many questions. In fact, I was banned from asking questions at the competitors meeting. I had to wait. I think Paul told me I had to wait 30 seconds before I could ask another question because most of them got emailed in. But it's funny because you think a lot and the way you see things, you have an idea, but the way that they had sent us these rules, less rules is better. The boxes can only be put on the table. Basically, the boxes could only be like boom, 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 because they had to be so far apart from each other. So as soon as that was like, again, we didn't even have the piece designed, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, I gotta call Paul because there's no freedom in where we put the boxes. It was just kind of like the boxes have to go there. This one has to be that far away from that one. It has to be that far away from that one. With a 4-foot table, you only have so much room. So then I can't remember for us. I think they modified the rules a little bit for us. After that, it was like you can put them wherever you want. But even little things like you talk about the silicone liner inside the box. We couldn't have our silicone liners were not in the box. I don't think we left them in because the patented Michael Joy. What color was that?
The violet.
Yes, the clash with the chocolate. So, because I wanted the chocolate, we used very dark colors because we used dark chocolate, and I didn't want this almost pastel like violet color to throw off the eye because the boxes were white. So I could go from white to dark without any problem. And I think somebody said you had to use them, and I was like, well, I don't think we used them.
No, I don't think you had to. As I remember, this was a long time ago, about the rules, I was more about the concepts and some things, and then Paul was the one who made it like, this will make sense to a chef. Because I was like, in that instance, a different role than what Paul was doing. He really led a lot of everything else. I was like, I lit the fire and then he tended the fire. The other thing that I was when you said about the white box, why I jumped in really quick is because we're like, this is a new event, we need a lot of PR. And so every box said Pastry Live.
Oh, smart.
I was like, because every picture that's taken tells you exactly where that was taken. And I thought, whew, you know, we got that. But
it's like branding 101.
I felt like let's just do my side, your side. My side from the competition was I was struggling to get people to participate because this was just at the end of the World Pastry Team Championship and everybody felt burned, sponsor-wise. Everybody was like, you want me to help you what? Why would I? You're a company just like, why you pay for it, you know? And I was like, well, I can, but it's not gonna thrive. You know, I'm like the smallest company in town and in a year I make what you make in a day. I'm like, seriously, how does this work? The thing is nobody else in those other companies, they could write a check, but they were not invested in the artistry. They were like, just get my name out there. We're here, we like you guys. You know, so I had this sponsor thing going on. It was like reparations with the sponsor. I'm like, come on guys, I'm not, just send the check right to, I'm not even getting the money. I'm like, it was this weird thing. From your side, didn't you even help me get other teams?